Nate Silvers and these Saliza people, just bites into this glorious show. AOC. What? She's kind of fun. In a silly but earnest, wrong but adorable way. She's like your daughter when she comes back from her first year at Brown, full of half-baked, half opinions, in need of some gentle, patient deprogramming. But people have to realize new faces doesn't mean new ideas.
When Greg Gutfeld locks eyes on AOC, it's not politics. It's open season. This isn't commentary, it's comedic carnage. Precision cut with sarcasm so sharp it could fillet a filibuster. With a grin that says, "I've read the bill you pretend to understand," Greg slices through her buzzwords like they're made of tissue paper. He doesn't just call out contradictions, he drags them into the daylight, kicking and screaming while the Twitter cult watches their hashtags burn. AOC tries to spin her usual ideological bedtime stories, but Greg shows up like a nightmare armed with facts and a punchline. This isn't a debate. This is a reality check dressed as a roast. And the scariest part? He makes the truth funny. Brutally, brilliantly, dangerously funny.
Where did she grow up again? Westchester?
Westchester.
She represents Queens. And she wears plaid, and then she has little ski things with like a 60-pound backpack, like she does that. I have never seen, and she showcases her whole life on social media. You can never see her in private. Everything is on social media.
Greg Gutfeld isn't just a commentator, he's a collector of absurdity and a hitman with a punchline. So when AOC wanders into his sights, it's not analysis, it's open flame satire. She doesn't just hand him material, she wraps it in glitter, slaps on a note that says, "Please roast me," and mails it to his studio. Greg just unboxes the nonsense and lights it on fire, live on air.
AOC was on 60 Minutes last night. Quite a feat for a newcomer. Must be all her great new ideas.
People are going to have to start paying their fair share in taxes. Once you get to like the tippy tops, on your $10 millionth dollar, sometimes you see tax rates as high as 60 or 70%.
What an expression. Now, the real story isn't AOC's very old ideas. It's the media's gushy view of her. Even with her old ideas, she gets on 60 Minutes. The past is called the future, and you better love it.
If you're enjoying this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell icon, because Greg Gutfeld is just getting warmed up. He starts his takedown like a chef assembling the perfect roast, plucking every bizarre ingredient AOC proudly tosses into the mix. And with her, the pantry is always packed. She calls herself a champion of the working class, yet somehow finds more time for skincare live streams than serious legislation. AOC isn't redefining politics, she's rebranding it as performance. And Greg, he's the one tearing down the set.
Victim status.
Why is it, Greg, that you can't challenge someone to a debate on the ideas without being accused of being a jerk? Like, I don't think Ben Shapiro has ever catcalled in his life.
Well, the thing is, what if a woman had challenged her to a debate? So she's actually being the sexist.
I think Candace Owens did.
Oh, really?
Now
there you go.
She has, like,
because
doubled the money.
So what? To answer your other question, she had to cloak her weak ideas in the armor of a smear.
Greg doesn't need to dig for material. AOC is the contradiction. He goes straight for her economics degree, which she swings around like a flex, even though it might as well be printed on a latte receipt. How do you study economics and still fumble supply and demand? Greg just points, laughs, and lets the irony speak for itself.
AOC has never introduced a fresh idea or issue in her life. The reason why she gets along with Bernie is because she's like an 80-year-old leftist in a used bookstore. I mean, you know, she may look fresh, but she's as stale as an abandoned futon on the street. It's like, I listen to her, I go, I heard that at Berkeley in 1983.
To Greg Gutfeld, the Green New Deal sounds less like policy and more like a Pinterest vision board gone rogue. It's all fantasy, no funding, and math that wouldn't pass a group project. AOC bashes capitalism while rocking outfits that scream luxury and preaches climate justice from a first-class seat. Greg doesn't buy the act. He sees a brand, not a leader. And when she hits social media, it's pure theater. Every disagreement becomes a crisis. Every word she dislikes becomes a scandal. She's not defending ideas. She's performing outrage on demand.
She really doesn't do her job, right? She makes movies, she goes to galas, she sits for glossy butt-kissing interviews in GQ and other women's mags. Once you get over the fact that you're hollow inside, it's not a bad life.
All right, Dana?
Well, I think that I read a little bit of the New York Times review.
To Greg Gutfeld, AOC treats every debate like reality TV, dramatic, overacted, and begging for a cliffhanger. Criticism, oppression, a lost vote, a national tragedy with Instagram captions. She's a pro at finding microaggressions in microwave soup, but Greg hits hardest when he exposes her solutions. Big promises, zero math. Her plans float like fantasy and fall apart on contact. It's like ordering the most expensive meal, demanding everyone split the bill, then ghosting before the check lands.
Then crossed her wrists behind her back, again in the faux handcuff position. It's as tall a tale as AOC nearly being killed on January 6th. This is a person who never met a situation she couldn't make about her. She really is the Amber Heard of DC politics. I'm surprised she didn't claim she was nearly killed on 9/11 or during the Tet Offensive or the Battle of Bunker Hill.
Greg targets the Green New Deal like it's a blooper reel. Ban planes, fine cows, and pay people to do nothing. No punchline needed. The plan is the joke. To him, it's moon landing ambition with group chat planning. And AOC, she rages against the system while sitting in it. Greg just says what everyone's thinking. You're not the outsider. You are the system. But AOC doesn't want to debate. She wants to rewrite the rules so she can't lose.
She gets on 60 Minutes. The past is called the future, and you better love it. Take AOC's delightful dancing video from last week. The media created a fake story that conservatives attacked her over this delightful trifle. Not really. In fact, the only stories written about the dance were by liberals using it to falsely smear the right. So the press creates a shield around her.
Greg doesn't just roast AOC's politics. He goes for the ego. She tweets like she's delivering prophecy and deletes like nothing happened. Every flip-flop gets framed as growth, a slick way to dodge accountability. Greg lists the rewrites, rebrands, and carefully staged selfies sold as activism. And those deep-sounding slogans, more brunch brainstorm than revolution. To him, it's not leadership, it's cosplay for clout.
She knew the media would obey. Let's watch the tape. You know, she'd be a great mime. Like the Latina version of Marcel Marceau.
Greg sees through AOC's favorite act, casting herself as the moral compass in a world gone wrong. Every issue is a battle, every vote a revolution, every disagreement oppression with a side of hashtags. To Greg, it's not politics, it's a soap opera where AOC plays the misunderstood heroine, capitalism is the cartoon villain, and critics are just foot soldiers for the system. But the underdog act doesn't land when you're trending every Tuesday. She's not fighting the system, she is the system, wrapped in curated lighting and progressive buzzwords. Greg doesn't deny her intelligence. He fears her conviction, because when a politician believes their feelings outrank facts and their popularity equals truth, they stop listening and start preaching. And that's not public service. That's influencer politics in a government costume.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've done Alexandria every day for the last 6 months. No, but it's true. But so is it. I mean, the thing is, she does represent something. She represents kind of like the naive romanticism that you can kind of play along and no one questions.
You mean the poems that you write when you're 15 years old?
But I think that this is a real possibility for her. You know, if she does read and she does actually get up to speed, she could be a challenge. But she hasn't.
Just have some grasp.
Greg Gutfeld doesn't come after AOC with fury. He comes armed with a spotlight and lets her own performance steal the show. Because the joke isn't in her policies or posts. It's in the fact that she actually thinks she's reshaping history, when really, she's just live tweeting it with drama and ring lights. To Greg, she's not a threat. She's a recurring character in a political sitcom that writes itself. And just when the audience thinks the skit is over, Greg reloads. Because with AOC, the absurdity has no bottom. She reacts to legislation like it's a personal betrayal, confuses disagreement with oppression, and turns every misstep into a moral statement. Greg sees the pattern. She doesn't debate, she performs. She doesn't lead, she uploads. She doesn't answer, she logs off. And in the end, Gutfeld doesn't have to defeat her. He just lets her talk.
And like to say she's living in our heads like Pharrell Williams singing Happy. But in fact, it's the policies that live in our heads, and they should live there, because we know so many people who've been brutalized by such ideas. When you hear someone talk about socialism like it's a fun new way to pay down my college debt, you gotta scream. Just prepare to be called awful things for doing so. Today, pointing out the evil of the past makes you the bane of the present.
Greg dives into AOC's habit of turning politics into personal theater, narrating her career like an off-Broadway drama where every vote is a betrayal, every hearing a stage, and every spotlight a moral spotlight. She doesn't debate, she performs, delivering feelings as if they were facts, and wrapping speeches in so much drama it feels like a dress rehearsal for a documentary no one asked for. One minute she's condemning inequality, the next she's posting about how Capitol lighting is secretly oppressive. Then comes the fashion politics. Greg can't help but laugh at the tax the rich gown, worn to a luxury gala by a congresswoman who built her brand on fighting elitism. It wasn't rebellion, it was designer cosplay. Greg calls it performance activism stitched in irony and worn like a costume. And just when it feels like the show's over, she rewrites reality again, where borders blur, logic offends, and economics bends to whatever fits the narrative of the day.
Hello, America. So by now you heard that AOC, among others, were arrested last night. She truly is an American hero. It was brutal, taken out in cuffs. Well, technically, her shirt had cuffs. Maybe French cuffs, as she did surrender without fighting.
In AOC's world, wanting secure borders is xenophobia, questioning trillion-dollar spending is cruelty, and asking basic questions is somehow an attack on her womanhood. It's not political debate, it's word salad served with a side of moral superiority. Greg revels in her talent for turning any moment, a snowstorm, a Supreme Court ruling, even a banana shortage, into a dramatic monologue about herself. She's like a walking commentary generator, absorbing headlines and churning out paragraphs about justice, oppression, and occasionally skincare. Her online fan base doesn't just support her, they swarm like digital bodyguards, spinning every gaffe into genius and every contradiction into courage. It's not politics, it's influencer worship, powered by Wi-Fi and ring lights. And in the end, Gutfeld doesn't rage, he just grins, because while AOC thinks she's rewriting history, Greg knows she's really just writing punchlines for him, one cell phone at a time.